Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Kings, the 8th chapter. And pretty much continuing from where we left off in the 7th chapter with the end of that, the siege, right, and the famine that was within Samaria by the hand of the Lord, of course, prophesied by Elisha. So this is 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 1. Then spake Elisha unto the woman, whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise, and go thou and thine household, and sojourn wheresoever thou canst sojourn. For the Lord Yahweh hath called for a famine, and it shall also come upon the land 7 years. Now remember, this was the woman who would who first basically persuaded Elisha to turn in, to her house, and eat bread, and basically showed him a great deal of hospitality, even to the point where herself and her husband, her household, they built a room for Elisha to dwell whenever he would come by. Right, the same woman who was told by Elisha she would have a son. She ended up having a son. He died, and Elisha brought him back to life. Right, so that's that same woman here. So he pretty much gives her this heads up, say, hey, leave this land because there's going to be a famine for 7 years. So go wherever you're going to go and dwell there for the period of time. And after 7 years, you can come back. That means she had to leave the stuff that she had in Israel, right? Verse 2. And the woman arose and did after the saying of the man of God, and she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. Right, so she found Samaria, in there, and because the Philistines, there were certain territories, certain portions of the Levant, right, or that territory of the land of Israel that were occupied by the Philistines, some portion, by the Syrians up north. So some area that was suitable for her and her household, they basically dwelt there. And it came to pass at the 7 years' end that the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines, and she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. Because remember, she had left it, right? So she went to try and get it restored back to her. And the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, I pray thee, all the things that Elisha hath done. So, because remember, this king, I think it was Jehoram, bore witness to the things Elisha did, right? But also, Gehazi, having been the servant of Elisha and walked with him for so long, he witnessed certain things that probably weren't even written of, that we're reading of here. So in any case, the king is inquiring, like, okay, so what are some of the things he did? And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he had restored a dead body to life, that behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. So yeah, you can see them right there. Elisha pretty much brought him to life. He died. I was there. I went and I saw it all happen. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So she basically confirmed that to be true. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field, since the day that she left the land, even until now. So give her everything, all the land, whatever that belongs to her, give it to her, including, it's like kind of like getting a back pay, right? Because technically the fruits that would be on that field that were getting reaped and so on would belong to her and her household because it's on their land. Verse 7. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. And it was told him, saying, The man of God is come hither. And the king said unto Hazael, Take a present in thine hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord Yahweh by him, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? So, right, this goes to show you that at this time, the fame of Elisha, right, really first and foremost, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, by the things that Elisha was doing in the name and in the power of the Lord, he was known. He was known and recognized as a prophet, even by the neighboring nations, even by the heathens. So Ben-Hadad is inquiring, saying, "Look, am I going to recover? Like, go and get some news." So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels burdened, and came and stood before him. So that was a lot of things, right? Things like so much that as it says, 40 camels burden, the equivalent of what 40 camels can carry. And said, "Thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, Shall I recover of this disease?" Now, obviously, we know Ben-Hadad was not the son of Elisha. That is just like a formality of showing respect, similar to how sometimes they'll say thy servant, or thy Lord, or my Lord, and so on. And Elisha said unto him, "Go, say unto him, Thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord hath shewed me that he shall surely die." And he settled his countenance steadfastly, until he was ashamed, and the man of God wept. And Hazael said, Why weepeth my Lord? And he answered, Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children, and rip up their women with child. So this is going back to verse 11. Him settling his countenance steadfastly, meaning he was staring at Hazael. Just you can imagine just looking at him until Hazael felt like, when somebody just looks at you, if you imagine you're talking to somebody and they just start looking at you, just straight up. Eventually you're gonna be like, "Is everything okay?" Like, it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable or weird in a way. So Elisha stares at him for a while, and then he weeps. And you can imagine why, because as he's looking at Hazael, he's remembering or envisioning all the things the Lord showed him that Hazael was going to do. And interestingly enough, Hazael didn't even know that he was going to end up doing these things. And Hazael said, "But what? Is thy servant a dog, that he should do this great thing?" And Elisha answered, "The Lord Yahweh hath shewed me that thou shalt be king over Syria." So he departed from Elisha, and came to his master, who said to him, "What said Elisha to thee?" And he answered, "He told me that thou shouldest surely recover." And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth, and dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died, and Hazael reigned in his stead. So you can imagine, right? Similar to what they do when they waterboard you, how they put like, a cloth or whatever on your face and then just keep pouring water over it so you can't breathe. But here, not necessarily waterboarding Ben-Hadad, but with that thick cloth, making it dense with the water, right? You can imagine there's little to no oxygen coming through, and then spreading it upon his face. It's not just like a face massage, right? He was suffocating him. So Hazael pretty much put this guy, Ben-Hadad, to death, and then he became king in his stead. And in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. So yeah, just that clarification there, right? So here, the son of Ahab, the king of the northern kingdom, is referred to as Joram. And you also had the king of the southern kingdom, Jehoshaphat, the same one who went with Ahab to war, and then Ahab ended up dying in that war. Jehoshaphat's son is named Jehoram. Now, let's actually go back a bit. We're on verse 16. Let's go to the 14th chapter here. Now let's look here for, let's see. In actuality, let's do it this way. So let's look up Jehoram. Because there are times where, let's see. Because he had no son. Click on here. Yeah, there we go. So 2 Kings, the 3rd chapter here, we now see that Jehoram, right? 2 Kings 3:1. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. So in 2 Kings, the 8th chapter, the 16th verse, where we're just reading, this Joram is otherwise also known as Jehoram or Jehoram. Okay, as it says here, Joram, the son of Ahab, same one we're reading of in 2 Kings here, Jehoram, the son of Ahab. However, and I believe if we can actually look into it, I believe the meaning should be the same or very similar. So here we have Joram, Yawaram, Yahweh is exalted, they have it here as, and now let's look into the name Jehoram, which is Yahweh Ram, which is the same thing. So it's like another way of saying that, right? And you know, I would say, like, you can think of it like how you have the name, for example, Brian, and then you have the name Brian, right? Which is pretty much the same name, right? Just spelled like differently. So that's like one way I would imagine it. Now, the reason here that I think the blue letter does this is because there's the introduction now within the same verse of another king whose name is also Jehoram. And that can become very confusing if you are reading here and you're seeing, and in the 5th year of Jehoram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. So you might get confused and say, wait, did they make an error here? Didn't they just say he was a son of Ahab? So it's also possible that, you know, they might have done it on purpose to where now they started to refer to him as Joram to make a distinction between the king of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. But just to be clear, this Joram is the same Jehoram that is referred to in 2 Kings, the 3rd chapter, the king of Samaria at this time, or the northern kingdom, I should say. So 32 years old was he when he began to reign, this being Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, southern kingdom. And he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, and he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, and did as did the house of Ahab, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh. So this Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, ended up marrying Ahab's daughter, which would make him the brother-in-law of Joram, right? Joram being the son of Ahab. So anyway, he ends up doing evil. Yet the Lord Yahweh would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him to give him always a light, and to his children. And this meaning that he would preserve, right, that line of David, that royal line, to continue to sit on the throne, at least of the tribe of Judah, which is why in most cases you'll see it'll say, for David's, the Lord's servant's sake, the Lord didn't do X, or he didn't do Y. And in his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. Because remember that at this time, going back to the time of King David, with all the warring that he did, it was to conquer these neighboring nations and subject them under Israel. So when Israel was the united kingdom, we were above everybody there, leading into King Solomon's rule of mostly peace. And then as the kingdom split, and you had the succession of kings of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, eventually they started to lose the grip of that Near East region. And then you had like the Moabites revolting, right, which we read about that with Mesha, the king of Moab. then you ended up having now the Edomites revolting. Okay. So Joram went over to Zaire, and all the chariots with him. And he rose by night and smote the Edomites which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots and the people fled into their tents. Now, if you take a quick look here at Jair, or Zaire, we have here a city in Edom. Cool stuff. Verse 22. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah on to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. So once again, you started having these revolts. And this wasn't something that happened to just Israel, right? When you had different empires or heathen rulerships, you eventually, as they got weaker, whether through civil war or whatever the case was, those that were under them sought occasion to revolt. And the rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. Now, so once again, right, interestingly enough, here there's now mention here of Joram, right? There's mention here of Joram, but this Joram here, I believe is the Joram of the southern kingdom, or the Jehoram of the southern kingdom. So the point here is just be aware that when you read the book of Kings, particularly 2 Kings, and possibly even in Chronicles, since they're similar, sometimes you'll read a name Jehoram, and sometimes you'll hear that same individual be referred to as Joram, and it's the same person, but you have to use the context of the verse or whatever chapter you're reading to identify, is it the same person just being called by another name? And sometimes when there are two kings that have the same name, and one is referred to as Joram, then the other Jehoram, then again the other is Jehoram or Joram, and then it's flipped, you have to use the context of the verse to make that clear. So, for example, in the 24th verse, this would have to be the Joram or Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, because, and it will get clear as we go down, but as you can see, it says he slept with his fathers, right? And was buried with his fathers in the city of David. So that's inclination that he would have to be the king of the southern kingdom there, because the fathers of the northern kingdom, Jehoram, does not go back to David. And Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, begin to reign. So you see the example here, right? In verse 24, Joram here is the son of Jehoshaphat, otherwise referred to as Jehoram, and you can even see it over here. Ahaziah succeeds Jehoram. He's just referred to as Joram, because it's interchangeable. So he ends up dying, and he gets buried, and his son Ahaziah reigns. And then in verse 25, it now jumps to talk about Joram, the son of Ahab of the northern kingdom, and how in the 12th year of his reign, Ahaziah of the southern kingdom now begins to reign. Verse 26, 22 years did Ahaziah, or 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, as did the house of Ahab. For he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. So, let's think about that. This Ahaziah, his father was Jehoram. That Jehoram, right, of the southern kingdom, married Ahab's daughter. And that's why his son here, Ahaziah, is referred to as the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. Because technically his mother, right, Ahaziah's mother, was the daughter of Ahab, as where his father was the son of Jehoshaphat. So anyway, we see here that he reigns for a year, as it says here, and then there's mention of his mother here, right, Athaliah, which is another demon that we're going to read about as we go on, a purebred demon at that. But you know, she'll have her time. Anyway, this Ahaziah continues. He walks in the way of Ahab, you know, doing evil, and so on and so forth. Verse 28. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, in Ramoth Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. And King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. And Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. So what happened here, right? After the formalities of who's who and who's what, you know, they joined together, right? And they went to war against the Syrians. At this time, Hazael is king, right? We read about how he became king. So they go to war here, not to be confused with the war that Ahab and Jehoshaphat went to. This is different. So Joram and Ahaziah, right, they go to war against the Syrians. They end up getting their ass kicked, right, to some point, to some degree. More so for Joram because he ends up getting injured in this war. So they retreat, right? And you can imagine as Joram is getting healed because he was wounded or he was injured, Ahaziah goes back to Judah, right? He's the king of Judah. So after some time, he now comes to visit Joram to see, you know, how's he doing and so on and so forth. And that brings us to the end of 2 Kings, the 8th chapter. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.